It's time for Rashad to review Black Lightning, Episode 6. Yeah! This is Rashad's review, where we give you the real deal on movies and TV shows that you just don't have time to watch. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe to Color Commentary so you can get even more reviews of movies and TV shows that you just don't have time to watch. Today, we'll be covering Black Lightning, Episode 6. Here's the synopsis. Black Lightning is injured from the results of an attack by Joey Toledo in the previous episode, as well as his own out-of-control personality and his own health issues. Black Lightning is also going deeper down the rabbit hole towards getting revenge on Tobias. Lynn Pierce, or Lynn Stewart, whichever you want to say, is getting fed up with this whole situation. Some more. I mean, I think she was already fed up. Really, wasn't she? Anissa is continuing to discover her role in the world as a vigilante. And Jennifer is dealing with her own personal issues. So, it's time for the non-spoiler review. You know, I just keep liking Black Lightning more and more. Every episode is just so compelling, so intriguing. This one has so many different moving parts that I don't even feel like I can really give you a non-spoiler review without telling you basically what happened. I mean, there's just so much going on. I will tell you that everything is just so interesting. It's so compelling. It's so cool to see how the parts come together. On the other side, though, this was probably there were some points where this was the most poorly written episode of the ones that we have had so far. However, the action and some of the other things kind of balances it out. But when we get to the spoiler review, you'll see what I'm talking about as far as like, okay, that didn't make no sense from either the writing perspective or how that character acted. It's like, okay, how their powers act, that didn't make no sense. But again, overall, it was a great episode. So I really loved it. I will, however, tell you what I don't love. Lynn. I'm so sick of her. I understand where she's coming from with some things, but how she comes across, man. Like, she says something to Black Lightning in this episode that just makes me just done with her. Like, I'm just done with her. Like, I understand what she was trying to say, but how she said it, I'm done with her. And then she followed up with that later on. Gamby was asking for help, and she's like, I really need help with Black Lightning here. He's about to cross a line here, and it's about to be horrible. And she's like, basically, you made that bed, so lay in it. What? Come on, you know, come on. I like Lynn less than Tobias at this point, and that man broke his own father's back and left him to die a slow, painful death. So, anyway, should you see this show? Yes, you should see this show. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Now listen, go watch the show if you haven't seen it already, so I can do my spoiler review. So get out of here. Yeah. Alright, it's spoiler time. Welcome back for the good part here. We got to that part probably in record time. That's a lot happening in this episode, man. I'm going to tell you here. I'm just going to be reading here, so if you see my eyes looking over there real quick, you know what's going on. Black Lightning is rescued by Gamby at the start. Officer Henderson says a few things that makes me think he might actually be an actual good guy, because y'all know I'm hard on Officer Henderson. I think that he's a bad guy, but maybe not. I could be wrong. I guess we'll find out. In the course of healing Jefferson from his injuries, Lynn has some choice words for him about his father being dead. Not cool, Lynn. Not cool at all. Anissa participates in the vandalization. Oh, you love how I did that. So far, no missed words. Hashtag no missed words. Anissa participates in the vandalization. Let it roll. Vandalization of a Confederate statue and gets arrested. Again. Black Lightning lets Gamby know that Tobias is not on the run. Oh, get down there. There we go. Lets Tobias know that, lets Black Lightning know that Tobias is not on the run, and they have a disagreement about how to handle this. Gamby pays Lynn a visit because he thinks that Jefferson is going to murder Tobias. Jefferson is Black Lightning, for those of you who are new. Why are you new? This is like the 6th episode. Come on, get it together. In the meantime, Anissa also pays Lynn a visit to get help with her self-discovery project. And Jennifer and Khalil's relationship hits a new low. Anissa destroys a Confederate statue with her new powers after a white nationalist kills a young girl. Black Lightning sets up a trap for Tobias, but before he can execute his trap, someone breaks into Lynn's lab, causing him to have to get to her as soon as possible. But Anissa is already on her way to Lynn's lab to talk to her. This is cool because even if you haven't seen the episode, now I don't know why you haven't seen it. I gave you the opportunity to go. I said go, and you should have gone and watched it. But even if you haven't, I think just me reading this to you, you can see how cool this episode is. So like I said, somebody's breaking into Lynn's lab while Lynn is there. But Anissa was already on her way to Lynn's lab in order to talk to her. And when she gets there, she's able to run off Lynn's attackers. But Black Lightning arrives immediately after. And thinking that Anissa is attacking Lynn, he immediately assaults. Dang it! I tried to make it all the way through. Hashtag assaults. Or whatever the heck I said. Whatever the heck. He attacks. He fights his daughter. Gosh, I thought I was going to do it. Anyway. Hashtag disappointment. He fights his daughter in her disguise. Wow. And it's a brutal fight that Black Lightning eventually wins, but now he has to come face to face with the consequences of his actions as Black Lightning. His daughter has powers, and she's following in his footsteps. Khalil seems to be teaming up with Tobias, and this seems to foreshadow Khalil getting some powers as well. And Gamby, at the very end, goes to Jill Scott's character, Lady Eve, and reveals during the conversation, among other things, that he taught her everything she knows. Woo! Let's talk about what I liked in this episode. Man, I'm going to tell you, I really like Jefferson's relationship with his daughters. That's the first thing I put down here. He gets a chance to spend time with both of them in this episode, and he really tries to help them succeed in life. They don't always do what he says, but you can tell that they listen to him, they really love him, and they do respect him. Like, there's a great scene where Anissa's like, you tell me this all the time, and he's like, well, maybe if you listen to it, I'll stop telling you. You know, and she just kind of, like, Anissa's got such a fiery personality, but she doesn't show that at her dad. You can really tell that she respects what he's got to say. And I really like Anissa in the role of the daughter. Her character is a little bit more complicated, I think, than Jennifer. Jennifer's very rebellious just in general, just to be rebelling, just drinking, just in general, just to do something. But Anissa is kind of like trying to find herself. Like, she alternates regularly between the level-headed student teacher to the emotionally motivated champion of all that's good. Just like most of us in our college years, you know, she's just kind of back and forth. I really like Jordan Calloway. If you don't know who that is, that's Khalil. I like his acting in this episode, and I hope we get to see him in bigger productions in the future, maybe Black Panther Part 3 or something. My favorite part of this episode was definitely the fight between Jefferson Pierce and Anissa. And that comes right at the end of this episode. I think Anissa held her own very well with a combination of self-defense that her dad taught her, as well as her newfound invulnerability. And her, you know, she's got to have an asthma attack every time she uses her power. Oh. I can't have that power. It was a really good fight, but I like the fact that Black Lightning won in the end. It only would have made sense for the far more experienced fighter to have won. And I think I've seen other shows where in that same situation, the more experienced fighter doesn't win. I'm glad that they had him to win because it would have weakened his position as the main character for the series. I really like the suspense in the situation with Tobias's daughter. I mean, with Tobias's doctor. Tobias didn't have a daughter that I know of. Black Lightning, I need to know who the characters in this show are. Who are the characters? Black Lightning sets up a trap for Tobias, but then in the end, Black Lightning doesn't even show up. So what's going to happen with the doctor. They didn't even show that, but I'm so interested. Like, I'm wondering if in the next episode the doctor's just going to be dead, or is Tobias going to confront the doctor and be like, this is kind of weird. Why did you call me back here? Something's not good. I just feel there's going to be some problems there. You don't want no problems with the doctors. So anyway, I like how Black Lightning, the show, continues to keep you grounded in what's really happening in the real world. Anissa is caught up in an ongoing debate concerning the removal of and defacing of Confederate monuments. But what would you do if you felt so strongly about it, but you had superpowers? Like, what would you do then? And the scene between him and Anissa right after he bails her out of jail, as I mentioned before, is a great father-daughter moment. Man, he's having a hard time with these women in his life, I tell you. Also, during the episode, I like the fact that it seems like Jefferson is starting maybe to figure out that Gamby is kind of playing both sides. He says something like, every time I bring up Tobias, you try to you back off. I mean, that's really interesting. It's like Gamby had to kind of get it together, like, oh crap, like, oh man, he's reading my book, like he knows what the deal is. Like, all right, let me find some excuse. Like, he almost caught him in the lie. Black Lightning, Jefferson Pierce, he's very sharp, and it may not be too much longer before he understands what the heck is going on. I got a couple of I told you so moments in this. I don't have a hand sign for that. I told you so. If I have any other I told you so moments, I'll have a hand sign for that. Number one, I told you what was going to happen to Joey Toledo when he told Tobias that he had the chance to kill Black Lightning, but didn't. Tobias was unhappy, and he nearly choked dude to death. But at least he didn't get stabbed. That's what I thought was going to happen, so at least he avoided that. Number two, Dose. As soon as Jefferson got a good look at his daughter, Anissa, after the fight, he immediately recognized her. Like, Anissa? Like, I told you that costume doesn't obstruct her face enough. Just putting on some gold makeup across your eyes and a wig, you still are you. And as soon as her father looks at her, and her mother looked at her, they definitely recognized exactly who she was. The only reason that Black Lightning didn't know who she was immediately was because he was blinded by the fact that he thought that whoever she was attacking Lynn, that she needs to be attacked. No, that's not nice. She needs to be attacked. Anyway, and also with her having powers, obviously he ruled out in his mind, okay, that's not my daughter, because my daughter doesn't have any powers, so she couldn't be the one that's under the mask. But guess what? She was. Let's see what else we have here on our handy dandy thing as so I get my notes together. Let's see. With this last one here, I also don't know whether to put this as a like or don't like. I mean, I like the person. She does a good job of playing the character, but I don't like the character, man. I can't stand the character, and y'all know who I'm talking about, because I'm sure you can't stand her character either. Lynn, what the heck? When Jefferson said that he watched Tobias murder his father, and her response is, your father is dead, and there's nothing you can do to bring him back. Yeah, it's true. It's true, but seriously, like the way you came at it like that, like what if your father had been brutally murdered like that? She'd be all over Black Lightning trying to get him to, you need to step up and do this because I can't do it. You need to take charge and be a man. But that was horrible. It's a horrible thing to say to someone. Yeah, it's true, but it's all about, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, Lynn. So get it together. She follows that up by saying, when Gamby calls and says that, Black Lightning is about to murder Tobias, she's like, you know what? That ain't my business, is pretty much what she says. Now, later on in the episode, she apologizes about that because she's like, oh, I just didn't want to be number two in your life. Like, seriously? Like, that's what that was all about, was jealousy? Like, your little pitiful apology don't mean nothing to me. I'm telling you, Jefferson, you need to cut her short and get with Miss Foudy. Boy, did y'all see Miss Foudy in this episode? Woo! Looking good. So anyway, on that note, let's talk about what I didn't like. This episode has some of the worst writing in the series so far. For example, there's a scene where Anissa is sitting at home studying superpowers, and she says to herself, she says, E equals mc squared. Mass is a function of energy. Mitochondria. What the scientific gobbledygook? I mean, she's just saying random gibberish scientific terms from physics and biology. That's like someone that works on cars saying carburetor, seat belt, spark plug. It sounds like something from the Fairly Odd Parents, if you guys know that cartoon. Digimon, Pokemon, Pikachu, Leomon. Anyway, I don't know Digimon characters like that. I googled that. And I know that's not something that Fairly Odd Parents say. Anyway, the writing between Assistant Principal Foudy and Anissa is very weird right there. Like, Foudy's just like, hey, you know, did you know that girl? She's talking about the young lady that was killed by the white supremacists. She's like, did you know that girl? You know, it just makes you wish that there was something you could do. And then she just walks off. Like, if I said that to somebody, I definitely would wait to see what their face looked like. You know, it looks like, you know, something you could do. Let me see what your face looks like. All right, and then I'm gonna walk off. Like, why would you say that and then it just seemed weird. Like, the writing on that was not, I don't know, something wasn't right there. It just seemed like they just wanted to cut to that scene too fast. Now, let's talk about That Didn't Make No Sense. Oh, I got a song last week. That didn't make no sense. That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. All right. When did Khalil totally betray Jennifer? Like, to be upset with her about the situation that's going on and his partial paralysis is one thing. But to put a girl that he's currently dating on blast right now as if he wasn't currently dating her is really weird. Like, for example, if he was to text out and say, you know, Jennifer's really easy, or Jennifer's the real cause of my paralysis, like, that would be one thing, because that's kind of how he's really feeling and trying to get back at her. But it's like, I wouldn't expect him to be like, oh, she's like dancing like a white girl, but she's got nappy hair. That's a weird thing to say about somebody that you're currently in a relationship with. And perfectly honest, it takes away from their whole dynamic. Like, Jennifer shows up later and she's like, yeah, you know, maybe we should take a break. Yeah, you think? This dude that you're dating posted the fact that you have nappy hair? What is that? That doesn't even make sense. If that whole him sending that text message out or posting that as his status had been completely removed from the episode, it still wouldn't have done anything to affect them having that disagreement, that argument later with him blaming her for the paralysis. They should have just stuck with that. They should have just had them talking. Well, there was a scene earlier where Jennifer was kind of, you know, she wasn't sure she wanted to continue this relationship, or she was feeling doubts about it. They should have just kept that part and the part with them having an argument. But that middle one, that didn't make no sense. All right. Anissa's powers, and I've been on Anissa and for a little while now, but her powers just didn't make no sense in this episode. She walked up on the Confederate statue and smashed it by taking a step, which is cool. And the statue, which is made of marble or granite or whatever it was, smashed immediately. But here's the thing, that didn't make no sense. There was a lot of people around. If her step was powerful enough to knock a statue down, it's probably about 10 feet up and it's made of granite or marble, then it also should have knocked down everybody around, like not a few of them, like pretty much all of them, and it probably should have broken some bones, because last time I checked, it's easier to break bone than it is to break marble. Same thing happens later on when she's fighting Black Lightning at the end of the episode. She steps really hard and it knocks Black Lightning into the air, but in the meantime, her mom is right next to her in a rolling chair. She definitely would have been on the ground. That didn't make no sense. I like that. For the most part, the powers seem to be realistic, so let's just concentrate on how that would really work. All right? This next thing, last thing here, is not really a that don't make no sense moment, but seriously, is Anissa going to lose her position at Jefferson School? Like, girl's been arrested. She's been arrested. Girl's been arrested twice. I mean, how does your student teacher get arrested twice and she still got a job at the school? I don't know about that. I don't know if that don't make no sense, but it just ain't right. Now that that's all said and done, make sure to give this video a like if you liked it. And remember, you gotta subscribe to survive. Oh, another thing, please go to the comment section and tell me that I'm right or tell me that I'm wrong. And that was Rashad's review.